Hello there, and welcome to the long-awaited series, Shelf Indulgence. I could do with a gimbal, but I'll just try and move it as smooth as I can. Hello, I'm only one Kenobi, only one. And this is a series I've promised all the way back in December. A tour of this room and all the shelves, which are in chronological, starting with these here, which is the prequels, and the shelf you just saw to my right are the original trilogy. So I'm going to go through this episode by episode. The last time I did a room tour was long. I did all the original trilogy to start. That was about half an hour. Then I did the prequels, which were less shelves, but then that took me 45 minutes. Over here we have more shelves here, of course. The barge, and these are just kind of creatures and beasts. So, as promised, the Phantom Menace. So, let's just get familiar with what we have here. I used to have on the very top shelf, these used to be expanded universe, you know, loads of Sith going back to Revan onwards. But now I decided to make all of this the Phantom Menace because a large chunk of my Phantom Menace figures are Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon all fighting. I love it. I love mocking up lightsaber duels. So this top shelf here is dedicated to, still in kind of a chronology, the emergence of the Sith, we should call it, because that's what the Phantom Menace is, episode 1. The re-emergence of the Sith. The Sith have been extinct for almost a millennia. And then below kind of runs parallel. It's the story of the Phantom Menace, basically. But in the interest of spreading things out, the top two shelves are now, and a bit, are now Phantom Menace, because it used to be this. It used to be Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith. But because everything was so packed, especially the Attack of the Clones shelf, I've decided to do like a shelf and a half for each. So things are now spread. Let's get into this. I want to start right here, speaking of the expanded universe. This is the beginning of my Phantom Menace story, and look at it. This could be as many years as you want to imagine before the Phantom Menace, and you've got Dooku still in the Order. You've got his old master Yoda, and then this figure here from the Power of the Jedi is a great figure of Qui-Gon. I just wanted him to look different and younger, like that's his training attire, but that could almost be a younger apprentice of Dooku there. That's Qui-Gon Jinn. And then that Obi-Wan Kenobi is the vintage collection one, but he looks so young, that figure, that it looks like a little boy version of him. So that could be just a young, up-and-coming apprentice of Obi-Wan. And then that is that. This figure here is, of course, the Emperor, the Sidious from Phantom Menace, but without the hood on it, because I wanted to just show Ian McDiarmid there, you know, as he would have looked behind the scenes, training Darth Maul. So we've got a little bit of a Maul compilation there, and as we go across, I just wanted to put this somewhere, this vehicle. It's a fantastic, that's the movie line version of Anakin's pod racer. And then, of course, speaking of the emergence of the Sith, this is the moment, you know, Qui-Gon in a deleted scene spots they are being followed. And it's a great little scene that got left out. But then obviously these two figures here used to be part of this cinema scene where that rock is there, but they look great. The Qui-Gon figure looks so good from this angle. And I've actually taken them both off, but that is an awesome figure as well of Maul. You know, it's like a statue, hard goods, minimal articulation, but brilliant. I love the imagery of the Phantom Menace, some great shots and design. Over here, these figures have yellowed in time. They used to be in my old home when I moved away from home. These were left on some shelves in a bedroom where the curtains would have been open. But these figures that you find in the Phantom Menace line, they've got like this one here, for example, that's like kind of motion and attack. This one is just like stand-in, and then you've got these ones will go down a shelf now. These ones with cloaks and robes. They had multiple figures for Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, but these two work very nicely for that iconic moment where Maul fires at the blade and these two in tandem, like theirs. So there we are. And then over here, of course, great figures, the fantastic, spectacular duel in the hangar of Naboo, as George Lucas pronounces it, Naboo. There's another space here I'm thinking of reopening. If I take you to my wall of the Sith over here, this is just Sith Lords all together. This is what I call the Wall of the Sith. Fantastic figure with Darth Maul there, re-released recently, and I'd like him again without the robe. And I'm thinking of just having him here facing that way, just right in the middle of the action in the background. There is the top shelf. Moving down here, and you'll see we're moving down. I am TC-14 at your service. My master will be with you shortly. This way, ambassadors. etc., etc. That's a new figure. Brilliant vac metal. In the background there, I have said it before, and if you're unfamiliar with me, I don't like wasting anything. That Qui-Gon figure is hard goods robe. It came in the, I think it was the 2002 line, but I wanted to use him just taking on this droider car there, you know, just showing that variation of his action in the film. Then, of course, our friends in the Trade Federation. This time I will contact Lord Sidious. Viceroy. What is it? We dare not go against the Jedi. Viceroy, I don't want to see this stunted slime in my sight again. What's he called now? Dauphine or Dauphine. These figures, these characters are fantastic. Stay tuned. I'm going to do a top 5 figures for the Phantom Menace in the vintage collection. But also, I'm really wanting to do a top 5 need in the vintage collection. He would be on that list, no question, and some others. A little bit of Force perspective now as we look at the STAP, or the STAP. Great vehicle, so affordable as well on the secondary market. And this BOE I bought from Forbidden Planet in London when I was living there in 2004. I just remember looking at that droid, the B1 battle droid, thinking, wow, it basically was superior to these. It had just a stance of action, you know. More articulation as well. These are in the foreground, and in the background we have the newer releases of the B1 battle droid. You've got a bit of Force perspective here now, because these are significantly bigger, and those in the background are smaller. Force perspective is just like a, you know what it is, an ancient cinema trick. And as we see the backs of the two Jedi, these are the vintage collection, and ironically their faces I think were better in 2000 and, well, 1999 even, when they first came out. Those figures, like, I always used to think that was just an awesome likeness of Ewan McGregor at the time. It's got his scowl. These are not so good, but they do look great from the back. The hair sculpt is fantastic, and that's just depicting them split up. We'll head down to the surface. Excuse me if my hands are shaky. I think there might be an onboard gimbal. The battle on the Trade Federation ship. Fantastic. There he is. There's Boss Nass. I was wrestling with where to put him. I've just been spending a bit of time rejigging stuff to accommodate Boss Nass. I've only just opened him. And I always imagine putting him here, because that's his first appearance, isn't it? You know, they go down to the swamps of Naboo, and there it is. This little cluster here is just depicting that section of the film, you know, the escape from Naboo and the voyage to Tatooine, of which you see, this is just like a cinema poster. This is how I display, like a cinema poster. This is to depict that section of the movie. And there you have, of course, Sebulba. Great. And pod racers are great. I was actually looking on eBay at that pod racer set you can get from the movie line. I didn't pull the trigger because, you know, I've got enough going on for now. And of course the romance, or the relationship between Padme and Anakin, and that's quite a significant cluster, that, you know, the discovery of Anakin Skywalker by Qui-Gon Jinn, the father figure. And there they are again there. I like putting these two figures together like that. I've just moved Qui-Gon. You see, it's like a gesture of support there. You know, I've got Obi-Wan, you know, with his arm behind his back. Almost like, well, Qui-Gon does that to Obi in the film anyway. You've got much to learn, my young apprentice. And of course, the political arena now. And you've got, these are great figures. 1999 again. Look at that one of Senator Palpatine. What's happening? You know, great figure. Senator Palpatine, and I've got her back to us, unfortunately, though I did moan about the re-release of this Queen Amidala. Man, do I wish I had that new figure loose, because I wouldn't have her back to us, because the facial sculpt of the other is unbelievable. That's terrible, so that's why I have her like that. If I do get hold of the other one, I will use it as a decoy of some sort, maybe. But I have her facing that way. In the background, we got Masamida was his name, is it? And then, of course, Vice Chancellor Valorum. Or Vice Chancellor? What am I talking about? Chancellor Valorum. Supreme Chancellor Valorum. I call for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum's leadership. But if you listen to the Clone Wars, voiced by Tim Curry, Chancellor Palpatine says, I think it was Chancellor Valorum who used to be in charge at that time of the government. Valorum, I mean, who was working that they got the pronunciation wrong there, I do believe, don't you? Unless it's open to interpretation. People argue, even George Lucas pronounces it differently from everybody, but whatever, I'm digressing. And of course, the politics lead into the Jedi, which is a massive discussion point, how political the Jedi are getting at this very era of the Republic. So there we have a great figure of Yoda. I love that. Obviously, that's how he looked when he was just a puppet in the Phantom Menace. And then, of course, a great figure as well. You know, you've got Mace Windu, which came with a blue lightsaber, but that doesn't matter because I didn't want him holding one there. And I've forgotten her name there. A lovely Jedi. She has a crimson lightsaber as well. And of course, the Gungans. Now, this is the start of the war now. I did actually try and have Boss Nass here. It didn't work. He looked really short against Captain Tarpals. This figure, I'm so glad I finally got him to army build, you know. I don't want more than one of him just because that'll do me, you know. You've got Jar Jar, the significant Gungan. You've got Captain Tarpals, the leader. And of course, a generic warrior. But that's a lovely figure. I got that off my mate Lee. He was selling figures loose on Facebook. And I've got Jar Jar facing that way just because, going back over here, this is a great sculpt for Jar Jar. The eyes are great there. Steady. Steady. Over here, the sculpt of this figure from the back is the best. Front on, it looks reminiscent of the crazy wild-eyed one you see in the Clone Wars. But I love his ears from that angle. So I've got him looking away off to the distance, potentially, of the war. And you've got, of course, the pilots. You can use your imagination. Maybe they're mounting their forces, getting ready for the war. And speaking of which, here we are now. A massive cluster of B-1 battle droids, including OOM-9, or whatever his name is, 00M7 or 9, is it? I don't know. And there they are. You've got different variations of weather in there. Burnt, blaster mark, weather, rust, whatever. And this one is actually from the Revenge of the Sith, but he seemed to work very nicely there. Sort of matches the weathering. That's a figure of Darth Maul that's spare. Maybe that one I said I was going to open to put here, I should put there, really. I don't know. But still, that's a decent figure. Just one I got in a recent job lot. And a cluster of pilots. Speaking of the Naboo family, I would love to have had, what's he called now? Captain Panaka, man. I don't have Captain Panaka, but that is one I would also put on my vintage collection wish list. Padme's facing that way because the facial sculpt is horrendous. And I have got the same figure here of the Naboo Royal Guard. Head swapped 3 different times. That one is a clone. That guy there is the Imperial Navy commander. How about that? 3 for the price of 1. Well, you know what I mean. And then finally, just to go over the head of him, because it's a bit expanded universe, that bit there. This is the funeral pyre, you know. All robed, moving on. There's nothing left other than his career ahead of him. And then this figure here, which is a Phantom Menace figure, is so expanded universe. It's just the period after the Phantom Menace. You know, he would have gone to the temple. You don't see him wearing that in the Phantom Menace, but of course, you know, in a matter of time after that film, he would have started his training. That's why we then blend into Attack of the Clones. And on this point now, I'm going to end it, ladies and gentlemen, because that's why I've put these political figures. Things have changed since my last tour. I've put the political people there because that's all part of the arena. It's the politics, the training of this young Jedi, and most definitely this fella, whether you like it or not, will have been watching this guy, this kid, so closely, you know. And there it is. And then we move into the Attack of the Clones, which is for another episode. Of course, this all kind of blends. I'll show you this now because it blends into the Phantom Menace. You know, the Dooku and the start of the cloning will also follow that period of Phantom Menace. You know, when he recruits Jango Fett. That's why I've got Dooku there. And I've got, you know, the start of the cloning process. It's all relative. But then, of course, we go into Attack of the Clones, which is the shelf below. Good God, I did that all in one take. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. This has been Only One Kenobi, Only One. If you are new around here, subscribe, tap the notification bell because the next episode will be coming soon. It's been a pleasure to show you this collection, and thank you so much for the lovely feedback recently. People have been, you know, waiting for this and love to see it up close, and I do apologise for the delay, but now we are getting there. We're now shortly about to start it, and he lost me train of thought. I'm just going to give you a quick tour of some of this other stuff. I love this X-Wing as well. Fantastic, some vehicles in here. We're going to go all around this room. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only One. Out.